Hey everyone, it's the Sith Justice Warriors coming at you live on a lovely Sunday evening, this May 16th, with your co hosts, Jaded Fan and Princess Lumpia.
We made it to another
Hey,
week.
it's two in a row that we're on time.
Woo! Two
But
for two.
to be fair, it's been my fault because, you know, Lumpia and Sirius have been able to do things outside of, their home country. So it's on me, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. No, just
yeah.
kidding.
Um, so bit of news to catch up today, but let's see if we can keep it tight. Olympia, did you have a question for me that you wanted to ask?
Well, yeah, really, we can cover it in the second part. I know we haven't touched on a lot of video game stuff lately, and I know you are a big fan, huge fan of the Mass Effect series. I'm a huge fan of Mass Effect 2. Um, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Legendary Edition that just came out, just dropped this month. As a person who loved two and loves the series in general, wanted to get your thoughts to see if it was worth the time to relive. Basically, knowing that you've played it multiple times, is it worth it to relive? But we can cover that later. I think the biggest the biggest highlights for me for the week were really around the earnings call for Disney. Um, it's interesting because, when we last left Disney in their last earnings call, they were really boasting a lot of subscribership to their platform, Disney Plus. They were doubling down on Disney Plus as the new venue, if you will, for a lot of their movies. However, they're still grappling with the fact that they have to decide, how and given back then, a couple months ago, there was a lot of uncertainty around whether or not we were going to get back to quote unquote normal. But now that theater season for the summer at least is upon us, with Memorial Day really kicking off the summer, I felt like, Disney was still grappling with a lot of announcements of like, oh, are they going to release Black Widow concurrently with Disney Plus? Are they going to, how are they going to, show Shang-Chi? How are they going to, like, how are they going to approach movies in general was like the big question mark, because we weren't sure about how things were going to be back to normal. We knew they were doubling down on this platform. Um, However, like there still were like some holes to it all, as you know. I mean, I do think they had some successes with the Star Wars franchise being on Disney Plus. It keeps it relevant considering how things ended, with The Last Jedi. I honestly haven't seen Bad Batch, it just launched this month as well. But they're trying to make things relevant, expand the Marvel universe using the Plus platform. Also, they were testing a lot of movies. They did Mulan via Disney Plus. They did Raya via Disney Plus. But again, where I think they fell short is that, unlike the HBO like streaming service, they made you pay $30 to see it, which in all fairness is better than you going to a movie theater. However, for a streaming service that, when you compare it to something like an HBO Plus who aired King Kong versus Godzilla, like if you already subscribed to HBO Max, you got to see it. It wasn't an extra $30. So back to my initial comment, earnings was a big deal, honestly, for Disney, because we all know that the parks are open, but they're only at a certain amount of capacity. And furthermore, I mean, I don't know how you'd feel about walking in the open air with a mask on the whole day. Like imagine what your tan would look like. So like I'm just saying this because, you know, being in like a theme park surrounded by how many, thousands of people, like is not fun wearing a mask when you're out in the open. But Aaron Rodgers did it, so kudos to him. I just don't know if I could. So anyway, with that being said, Disney did release some news about their earnings, and what was probably the most interesting, if I could highlight it right now, was around subscribership, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, fan, because I don't have the article in front of me, but subscribership is down. Am I correct?
The growth is down
Yes.
from the
Yes.
second earnings call. So they did grow. Let me pull up Bounding into Comics because theirs is interesting because I was actually comparing the CNBC article with the way they spun it versus Bounding into Comics, where is it? The rate. They were talking about the rate. They grew 8.7 million subscribers, but analysts noted that the growth marks this. So this is Motley Fool's James Brumley claims that the growth marks the slowest pace of quarterly additions since the streaming service launched in the first quarter of 2019. They were expecting 109 million versus the 103.6, and this is in combination with there was a increase in the price, but then I think there was a promotion too. Like I think it was with I don't know what the name of this is that they were trying to spice to you know how corporate they love to kind of hide things, right?
Hmm.
So Disney Plus. So let me look at the CNBC because the CNBC is a little more. They're a
Business
little more.
oriented.
They try
Yeah.
to.
So, but it's
Yeah.
understandable that subscribership is down versus a year ago, because they didn't really get into full swing on the subscriber base. But if they're comparing it to last quarter, then yes, it's probably down.
No,
I
well,
would
the
have
rate.
expected
We
it.
got to be careful. It's the rate. They did gain
Mm,
8.67, but rate of the growth is down, the quarter to quarter growth. And then also what's down is the expectation. So
mm.
104 to 109 million is a lot. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That
It's
is true.
hot and it's Hotstar. It says the the average monthly revenue per user dipped 29% year over year to $3.99 per user, which the company attributed to the launch of Disney Plus Hotstar. I don't even know what that is.
I don't
But
either.
then like they spun it that if you took out Hotstar it was 5.61 per user. And then I think it was also ESPN Plus and Hulu was
Contributing.
contributing to some of the growth, but that's a different crowd, right? So
Hmm.
continue.
Yeah, no. So anyway, I think I said most of what I was trying to say was that, is this reason to be concerned? Because this is a company who really like went in guns a blazing and said we're double downing on this stuff. And like even with the expansion of the Marvel universe into Disney Plus, even with the like Star Wars expansion into Disney Plus, it's not in like, is this reason for concern? Is this project going to be, I don't know, treated differently? I call this a project because this is like a test. I mean, some places get it right and some don't. The good thing is that Disney always has a foot in with Hulu, since they own part of the acquisition with Fox, like gave them a lot of ownership of it. But I mean, this goes back to what I was saying, like there's too much, like too many apps. Couldn't it just be one app for everything? I don't know. Or like, did they over expand? Did they overreach? What are your thoughts, Fan? And what do you think this means for us, the
Yeah,
viewers,
it's interesting.
subscribers?
It's interesting. So, I reason why I mentioned the CNBC versus this Downing in the comments because CNBC, you'd think a company that like slices and dices the numbers for investors. I felt that they kind of went light touch on it. So the reason why I say that is like, for example, they just talked about um, revenue per user, and then the 103.6 versus the 109, and then they just said that the revenue of 15.6 billion versus the 15.9 billion expected was down, right? So they were just saying that they missed
Yeah.
expectations. But then when you go to Bounding into Comics, and I give this guy credit, he's guy or gal, I don't know who that is. Oh, guy John Trent over here. He puts it that actually not only that the Disney revenue dropped 600 million versus first quarter, and
Exactly.
then was it 636 million plus the fact that if you actually go not quarter by quarter, but then year on year, in second quarter 2020 versus second quarter 2021, they lost 2.4 billion. It's very interesting. I would have thought CNBC would be all up on that. But I give them kudos. Again, maybe CNBC is trying to cover for Disney. Disney's had some interesting press lately with their internal programs, trainings for their employees, for the diversity training.
Yep.
And I'm not going to get into that. I think it's clear that that's been covered a lot, and it's very interesting to see that there's actually a really the 2.4 billion year on year could very well just be for a 15-16 billion dollar company. I mean, that may be just getting through some headwinds, but when you're Disney, you own the biggest property. I understand your parks were a significant portion of your revenue, but Florida is opening up. Florida is one of the biggest contributors for the U.S. So eventually that's going to start catching up. But I think it's the subscriber thing that's interesting is that we've talked about it. You've had the WandaVision kind of not like from a content perspective. I felt that there wasn't any wokeness, so to speak. It was just more content lacking. Then you had the mixed messaging of Falcon Winter Soldier, which, if you believe it, that there were internal metrics that showed that people shut off at the police scene in Baltimore, and when they first met Isaiah, the original successful candidate of the Super Soldier Serum, and then it just got mixed messaging of Sam giving up the shield because he didn't feel like it should be honored. It should be Steve's honor, and then it became about racial injustice, and it's just this content plus messaging that I think a lot of people are getting tired of. And then we'll talk about this. I mean, Star Wars has been a mess. It was interesting with first quarter. It was this pounding of the chest. We are growing full speed, warp, hyperdrive. The sky's not even the limit. It's just the first door. Then you had the Gina Carano thing. And then I think a lot of people...
Which, by the way, they're like trying to get her nominated for an Emmy or something.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on that later on, but it's... I mean, Lucasfilms in itself is a mess. You hear these rumors that Kathleen Kennedy's kind of done, but then she's still around. And then you see the Brie Larson rumor. You see the rumors that they were so pissed off about the Luke Skywalker cameo, even though everyone couldn't stop talking how great it was. And with the second quarter dropping like that, it's just a signal, right? They can get through it. They're not going to collapse, but it's a signal to them to say, hey, guys, people are starting to get tired of it. And you know what? They've got to listen to it. And if they don't, people have got to either support it by buying their stuff or tell them they're not supportive by not buying their stuff. I've said it last week. It's the only way they start listening. And look at that. Gina Carano's film is getting promoted. The Bear Grylls thing episode where she was with him.
Yep. I have to watch that because I enjoy that show, to be honest with you. So I'm actually excited about it, to be honest, but
it got reinstated. That's the point. It got reinstated after getting banned, and the rumor about they're wanting her back, and I'm just kind of like.
And the Emmy Award.
Well, I think that's just them trying to count an Emmy. I think that's less Gina, more about that. I think a lot of people are sort of playing that up. I think it's just how they just want to say we have 3,000 Emmys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just want that. That's all it's about. But they're still doing that marketing, right? Like,
yes.
the in terms of the social change. I mean, Anthony Mackie was out there talking about it, and again, they may be doing the bait and switch. You've got Miss Marvel coming around. You've got
Oh
Brie
God,
Larson
I know.
speaking.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the biggest I think the biggest bait and switch is coming soon.
which one?
Honestly, I think it's gonna be the Thor movie. I really do. Unless Taika Waititi is truly, I do believe in his work. I really enjoy his show, What We Do in the Shadows. There's no like, but he's not even immediately involved in every show, but like it is a spin-off of his movie. Like I really enjoy his stuff. I just don't know if, and he's very involved in the movie. I mean, Chris Hemsworth posted a picture of the two of them on set. I just don't know that this is what people think it is. That's what I'm saying.
Do you think the normies think it's about Thor Odin's son, but it's about Jane? Or you think
I
it's
think that
actually bad marketing?
I think they think this is going to be 90% about Jane, and I actually don't think so. I think she might happen in the second half of the movie. Like, or it might be something of like, it might be the first half of the movie and then Thor comes back. Like, the way they made it sound was like, this is like woman Thor. This is it.
Yes. I mean, that was the marketing, right? Remember with the
Yeah, that was the
Comic-Con?
marketing. The first like female Thor, like I just don't know if it really truly is going to be like as like I mean you have to think about it. Natalie Portman is fine. There's nothing against her. I don't think Jane Foster, the character, could carry the movie in its entirety. Like you're going to make it be something a little bit different than a traditional Thor action movie. But the fact that they brought in all these other, let's put it this way, they brought in a ton of men. Like they announced Jane Foster, but they bring in a ton of men into this movie.
Very big heavy hitters like Christian Bale.
They brought Christian Bale, they brought Russell Crowe, and even if it's just for like a little, okay?
Yeah,
they even brought
heavy.
Matt Damon back, okay?
Like, no, but is Sam Neill going to play?
I think so. I think that I really truly believe you. Like, I honestly believe that Act 1 is either centered on Thor himself. Act 2 could be Jane, the transition to Jane. Act 3 could be, you know what I mean? But they really, and then the whole Valkyrie situation's been quiet. Like, I honestly don't know. Like, we call it Thor Love and Thunder, and they tout Jane Foster as Thor. But how many minutes of Thor, I don't know. It's like an advertising that already like could fall apart if they don't do it right. So I don't know. And I'm not saying it's nothing against Jane Foster. It's truly what it is. Like that run, which was a really good run for the comic book, only lasted for a certain amount of issues. Because at the end of the day, you know, Jane died of cancer or whatever and became a Valkyrie, like, or whatever. So at the end of the day, the run is over and Thor still is Thor.
By the way, did you notice that they were quick to get rid of the blonde Valkyrie in the comic books?
Like, yeah.
It's funny because again, it could be that Marvel likes to merge, like if there's a movie and there's a success to it, they like to erase the original character. So
like, you know, yeah, or even like the greatest bait and switch of Captain Marvel. Like, you really thought it was going to be like something totally different than it was.
Well, that was exactly that they told you needed to see Captain Marvel in order to watch Endgame, right?
Yes.
And then all they did was ruin the lore about Nick Fury losing his eye.
Exactly. So that's why I say, and I didn't mean to get you on a tangent because I like what you were saying about this Disney situation, but you're absolutely right. I think I don't know. I think going back to what you were saying, just about the news, about the subscribership and everything. I mean, there's only so much subscribership you could penetrate. What would have been interesting is the statistic is that of all the subscribers to, platforms like Hulu, X% are with Disney Plus. Because then you could get a gauge of like, is it truly an incremental thing that people are really adding on? Because like just to say, okay, we went from 101 to 109, but what's the total size of the market and how much share do you have in the market? That would be more telling to me. Like if Disney Plus was 30% share of this market of streaming services, that's pretty sizable if you consider it. Or, but it's interesting how they're very careful about what they say, like you said, or just how information is manipulated. I should listen in more on the questions on the earnings calls. Those are the parts that I love the most because the analysts really try to get that information because they don't share enough of it. So, and this is a new forum, but the way I think about it is like, I mean, you have Peacock, Paramount, like Hulu, Netflix. I will tell you, this weekend was the toughest weekend for me because there was nothing on TV that I wanted to watch. And I had maxed out on what I wanted to watch on Netflix. I had maxed out on watching What We Do in the Shadows too many times on Hulu. So I'm like, and Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like I'm looking for something different. I literally had to seek out someone else to see if I could use their Apple TV. That's like,
I thought you were gonna go to your watching the 1970s Godzilla.
oh my god, I was what? See, that's how bad it was. I was last night watching The Son of Godzilla, which was like
You got beat up, that poor son.
that poor dude got beat up. It was just, it makes you really appreciate how far we've come, but it also makes you appreciate the movies of the past. But man, that like poor baby Godzilla got beat up by this praying mantis gang. Like he got poked and prodded. Poor guy. Anyway, so yeah, that's how bad it was. It was like going back and digging in to like the things that I could have watched, and like I'm telling you, it was bad. So like there's I guess what I'm trying to say is there's saturation. And at this point, I'm tapped out of this stuff. I can't, there's only so much I could watch and like rewatch. And don't get me wrong, I love to rewatch certain things. Man, I was at a point the other day where I was watching The Son of Godzilla. So
Imagine though, not only are you fighting for like what to watch, if you also play video games and you have to play like you have Game Pass or PlayStation Now.
oh my
Like
god.
imagine like so what I suffer from. I know we're going in a bit of a tangent. I suffer from
No, this is
paralysis.
perfect.
I suffer from paralysis by analysis. I could play some video games. I could watch the 20,000 anime that I have on Funimation or Crunchyroll that's on my queue, or I could watch the Netflix. I could watch Hulu because Hulu. I stopped watching SWAT, which I really liked. I did some,
They did renew it, so you can definitely continue watching it.
which is surprising because given all the anti cop thing going on, I'm surprised they let it go. But they sort of played it in the middle. But they did it. You know what they do though? They do it like Falcon Winter Soldier, where it's like
Mhm.
it really gets at that line and then it pulls back. Anyway, the I have the paralysis by analysis here, and it's they the streaming wars. They, I don't know if it's even a saturation. I just think it's going to be this internal collapse of like there's just too many services, too many fees,
Yep.
and then the only way you really can maximize it is buying and canceling services when you really just need it. So, for example, I
Mhm.
was talking to you earlier. I was like, I could subscribe to TV to watch sports, or I could just wait till like the NBA playoffs and just buy NBA Pass and then for the playoffs and then cancel it. It's
Exactly.
because because football season's coming around too, and I'm like, I want to have Red Zone, but I might as well just wait so I don't use it because I I don't even have the time to even sit down and watch football, like let alone follow my fantasy teams. So
Exactly. So
It's
yeah,
I think one day it's just going to collapse on itself and people are going to rise up and realize they just need to go out into like the wilderness and just walk, hike. Everybody will feel better.
yeah. No, I agree with you. I haven't even gone that far in my paralysis of like I think I would have gone there next if it wasn't for like I do read books and listen to books on tape. So that was my go-to like fallback. But then again, it all depends on what I'm in the mood for. And then, to your point, right now I've been in a slump with the gaming because I don't know, I'm in a slump, let's put it that way. And I always
We haven't picked up our sticks for
I
Destiny.
haven't yeah, I haven't
It's
done a pickup game in a while with you. And so I agree, that's on me. But for some reason, like
I agree.
my
I don't want to
my
touch it.
brain is not in my brain is not in it. But this is actually a good segue because I wanted to get, like I said earlier, to the heart of a game that we both enjoy playing. Um, like, what are your thoughts on this Legendary Edition? Like, is it something any true fan of the series should go through again?
So I don't know if there's been an update. So I bought it on Series X. So it's amazing to see things run on 60 frames. And if I just had a new TV, I'd be watching it or playing it at 120 frames. So just perspective here. But how do I say this? I have spent 100 hours or more on each character. And let me tell you, I'm only like 2 hours in that I could squeeze in with Mass Effect 1. I'm gonna do it like I do before, where you go through Mass Effect 1, uh, which is supposedly the biggest difference. And graphically, wow, it's better, but it's kind of what you remember it, only better. But then with Mass Effect 1, someone who's played Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, because they're still the same controls, like for example, in Mass Effect 1, you don't reload, you have to let your gun cool down.
Mm-hmm.
And I press the X button to reload, and then that's the button to throw your grenade. And I'm like, oh crap. And I keep like, or you press the A button to cover behind, latch behind cover, and you're supposed to like go up to it, and it's supposed to automatically do it. Whereas it doesn't because it's not. It's older, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't. You don't get behind cover like because Andromeda, as crappy as Andromeda was, I mean, there was this. The Frostbite had a potential. They just had the wrong. They had the C team, not the A team, working on it,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's such a difference. But anyway, I'm impressed by it, but right now with the biggest complaint I had with the Series X, so there's a launcher. You boot the game, and then Mass Effect 1 is already installed, but then you have to install Mass Effect 2 and 3. So it's all in one menu. The problem is in this again, maybe it's day one and they're gonna patch it, but it froze. Like and I'm like,
No.
that is unacceptable for a Series X. If
Yeah.
it was the one or the One X, maybe. But it's unacceptable. And I was actually really pissed off and I couldn't play for like I had to reset it a couple of times, but it was just so it was like frozen in that menu where you choose Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Uh, but other than that, when you start playing, it's like memory lane. But I think the question for someone is if you've never played it, you should play it. But if you're like me, with the many millions of people out there who have 5 characters at 100 plus hours, I'm unfortunately going to do this journey, but you have to ask yourself the question, this is a big commitment, and you just need to be aware that it's a big commitment. Like they have, like for example, Jane Shepard, the female Shepard, has like the original model of Mass Effect 1 was not the same look as Mass Effect 3's Shepard. So now they've improved the character models in Mass Effect 1 to look more like the ones in 2 and 3. But I mean, there's some things like, how do I say this? It's a time commitment at 100 hours plus, and then you're going to do a Renegade, and you're going to do a Paragon, and then you're going to also do one where you just kind of mess around with it. This is the time to play it because I don't really see anything big that's like you've got to stop, like Starfield or Halo
Hmm.
or what's the PlayStation one? I don't know what
God of War. I don't know.
that's.
If it ever comes
That's
out.
supposed to come out this year, but I haven't seen anything. Maybe it's going to be announced and released this year. I would doubt it with COVID, but we'll see.
Hmm.
That being said, it's I just caution for people who played it like me. That's a big time commitment, but it is honestly worth the journey. It's a time commitment.
Well, can I just skip to 2 though? If like for me, who'd never played, like never invested in 1 as much as you did, like I just want to skip to 2.
Yeah,
Can I?
you
Okay.
can. So like that's what I'd say is I think if you skip to 2, they'll give you a cutscene where you
You get to
select
do all that stuff.
you select
Set up
the
the
main
character.
yeah, you select the main decisions because that's one of the DLCs, and it just makes it. I was thinking about doing that to be honest. I was like, maybe I'll just do that, but then it's funny because all the little side quests that you can't make decisions on, you like this character was it Conrad Werner or something. He's a side character that wants to be you, and you can tell him to f off, or you could tell him to do a suicide mission because you're trying to make him act like you, but you're trying to get him away from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you don't do that in Mass Effect 1 and you skip it, he'll never show up in 2 and 3.
Mm.
It's these little things. It's like why I end up always doing 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, just to have the complete
But
picture, I guess.
but I can never
Sure.
do just 3. I have to do 2 and 3 or 1, 2, and 3. I can never just start at 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
You'd be
also
right.
and the only thing that I didn't see it, they didn't change. Like so, there is an original boss and original ending that because it got leaked, they erased it, and like kind of like how Cyberpunk they hacked CD Projekt Red and then they basically started from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
That happened, and I'll never know what the original story was, the ending. I'll
Mm.
always have that convoluted, um, pick your color, red, blue, or green. And
Yeah.
it's fine because I kind of like the fact that it's up to me to believe that Shepard's alive or Shepard's dead. But I will say that I want to know what their original vision was like. I wish they had a director's cut of what the original, version was, but you'll never have it. And
Yeah.
but it's good to play. It's just that for people like me, just know that you're gonna have to sink a lot of hours into it. Or for people that have never played it, or they only played Mass Effect Andromeda, this is the better of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that you get to save your save. And why I say that is because there's a Mass Effect 4 or whatever they're going to call it, and Liara's in it. So the question is it your Shepard? Because I'd like to know if my saves matter.
Your save might for this. I mean, seriously, it really does. I like that. It should be a T-shirt. Saves matter.
Saves matter.
No, you're right, because perhaps that's what it is. And I guess never say never, because to be honest with you, they could always turn around and add it as like the director's cut as a DLC or something.
Mhm.
Like see the real ending if they felt like it. But I guess it was nice to have them finally put it together in one package. It's sad that there was still a little bit of bugs, but I guess you can blame COVID for that. But at least it's out there. And I mean, considering how old the game is, there are probably a lot of people who've never played it. So I encourage people listening to play it because it's probably for me, like a person who enjoys like sci-fi, like space operas. It is one of the true games out there that is a space opera, that your decisions matter. And I will agree with you, saves matter, because every decision you make has a different consequence. And I know on the boards they put out the different paths you can take. But if you're playing it from scratch and like actually allowing yourself to experience it, like there are points of time you actually will go back and say, well, what if I did it differently? What would have gotten me? So it's just one of those games that it truly feels like, for me at least, I truly own the person I'm playing, and that I truly own their decisions, and I truly own the story. So I liked it for what it's worth. I still to this day like a lot of the standards that I set for games that are space opera ish go back to Mass Effect. Like I don't think I've seen one to this level before, like or after it, because most of the games, like if I think of Cyberpunk, it's got a lot of the elements, but it's so different than than Mass Effect. The basically what makes it so different is like when I think about like the different planets you travel to, I don't know, you remember that? Like, and it costs gas or whatever. Like, and you have to like chart like to different star systems. Like, they really built like a very open world that honestly I felt like they could have just gone further in, but because how many star systems exist in this universe that they could have plotted courses to and sent you on missions to? Like, it's a shame they kind of put it aside, um, put it on the shelf and said, okay, we're taking a break from it. But like, in all honesty, like, talk about like world expansion. Like the fact that you were in space meant that you could go multiple places. And I think that's why I love Destiny so much, even though it is contained in its own self to the planets that you could go to. But it's like take Destiny one step further and go beyond this galaxy, go to the next galaxy, go to the galaxy after that, and then go to the planets within that galaxy and the moons within the planets of that galaxy. So like the combinations and just they're just endless at this point. The different like places you can go, and Mass Effect really built on that for me. Um that, and it stayed true to the true enemy. You were always facing a consistent like enemy that like it didn't my only like you'll hear me complain about Dragon Age and it's the same people, but the enemy was the Darkspawn. The enemy here, the Reapers, like it literally is like it's so consistent, and it's just so well thought out, I guess is what I'm saying. I really, it's a shame that they didn't like push it further. Like it could have been the Destiny, and it could have been really cool, like in that sense. And so that's why I say like I love Destiny, because it's the closest to a space opera that I have, where it's a character that I chose like to create and to be and make decisions with. So yeah, I
Yeah, I
will
mean
say.
the decision to, and I'm sorry, it's a
Yeah,
spoiler.
go ahead. I could go on and on.
I think with I think a lot of people have played Mass Effect and know that there's really only one option where Shepard may or may not live. Everything else, he's either dead or sacrificed. And I know they wanted to end it. I'm pretty sure the original voice actors were like, "I'm kind of done playing Shepard," but it's. I think Andromeda showed that you really the legend of Shepard and the groundbreaking space opera that it was is a very hard bar to cross over,
Yeah.
right? It's kind of like that. If there's an example, like you really couldn't the Rider children could never live up to a Shepard, and no offense, I think again it was the C team. They really gave a big project to a team that maybe was more a support studio, and maybe they should have had at least the B team on it. I don't know. Obviously, these people make games more than I can, but the writings on the wall is obvious. It wasn't well received to the point where a lot of the DLC was canceled. and I hope that it's the A team, but a lot of the people that were made BioWare are gone. Was it Casey Hudson? I thought
Mhm.
left, and a lot of people that were leading the Dragon Age one left. So I think it's a problem that EA has with BioWare. I mean, Dragon Age is really their make or break. They may be shut down
Mhm. Mhm.
because EA is happy to just take the money from FIFA, Madden. That's it. That's all they ever get money from.
Yeah, it's true.
And the trilogy is a nice one, this Legendary Edition, but I'm really curious to see what they could pull off with Mass Effect 4, I guess was what you'd call it, not Andromeda. Because Andromeda's problem was that the enemy never seemed scary to me. This cat was just this ugly looking alien that they didn't scare me. They didn't tell me that the world, like the universe, like it wasn't even the universe. It was the universal exist, like your existence is just gonna be wiped out. Like with the Reapers, the Ket were just there, and they were just like oppressing the other the other species, the Andorra. But then for some reason, the Andorra couldn't fight back until the humans randomly popped in. It's a lot of weird stuff, and I think it's a function of you know trying to spread
People,
this.
yeah, it is a function too of like a change in the. I mean, when you think about it, a change in the leadership or change in the direction. And you're right. I think people tapped out because imagine how many months, years they spend on developing a game, testing it out, and then like, you know, things like you said, like a leak could set someone back so much that they have to start from scratch. Like, so it's a lot of hours, and it's a lot. It probably burnt a lot of them out, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah, I mean, look. I may be less sympathetic about crunch, but I do acknowledge as someone who has to go through crunch for his own personal job. I mean, it's hard, but if you didn't think you were not going into crunch, I don't know why you're in video games, but at the same time, yeah, I think the challenge is this is more of a creative thing as opposed to like traditional numbers and all that stuff. So I acknowledge that you do need to give people a bit of R&R, but it's eventually your creativity sort of runs out, and maybe changes of scenery for the people like Casey Hudson. It's probably what they need, but you know, I hope that they get the support that they need for the next Mass Effect because I mean, there's that in the new Dragon Age. We don't even know what that kind of is, right? We just saw pictures, like
Yeah, I'd
drawings.
rather not know what it is. I honestly think they're not sure. Like that's the thing.
I think it's like
Like
5 years out. Like that's as of now. Like there's
agreed. I think I'd rather see Mass Effect before Dragon Age, honestly, but I do agree with you to some extent. Maybe EA doesn't know what to do with BioWare. I don't know. It's a shame because sometimes this stuff happens when a bigger company like absorbs another, but
yeah. I
yeah.
mean that's why I understand why people are a bit nervous when Microsoft went nuts buying all these studios because they had is it Lionhead that made
Mhm.
Fable? Fable's like the original studio that made Fable was shut down, but here it is. It's in Playground Studios' hands. But yeah, it's big companies. They always look for synergies, but there is that risk. Like if their subscriber pass thing falls over, you don't. I mean, granted, Microsoft could take losses because they could. What did they spend? Was it 15 million?
Oh God.
What was it? What was the anyway? Whatever they spent for Bethesda, I mean,
Was
they
it
can
a
have
7? It was
seven,
7.
yeah, or
Lucky
eight,
number
eight or something like
7.
that. But yeah, it's the feeling that these are like it is a you're programming something, but there is an artistic part to it that I keep forgetting. Right, you just keep thinking you're at a computer making some code, but in order for you to make a code, you need to have this vision, right? And it's an
Exactly,
artist's
exactly.
vision. So that's
Exactly.
the one disconnect that I know I have. That's probably why Crunch to me is like, it's not. I'm probably not respecting it. So I just went full circle and backtrack. But I think that it's these are people that have to be creative, right? And I don't know.
Yes.
I kind of went on this random tangent, but these are the hills that they've got to live and die by. Mass
Hmm.
Effect and Dragon Age, because I think they lost the Star Wars, the Knights of the Old Republic,
Yeah.
Bioware, because I think I saw Disney was like making news about going to other people with their stuff.
I feel like Disney wants to create their own video games. Who knows?
They had one, they just shut it down. It was called LucasArts.
Stupid.
Or no, actually, it's not Disney. It's the head of chief. They get it.
Oh, geez.
So
Anyway,
I
so
mean,
yeah,
by the way, speaking of stars, Starfield. I just mentioned that Bethesda. They've There's a journalist like named Jeff Grubb who's basically said it is exclusive to the Microsoft ecosystem.
yep, I saw that.
And I mean, a lot of people kept saying, "Oh no, Microsoft's going to share it to PS5," and until this day, we don't know what's true. But you don't pay $8 billion to share it with PlayStation.
No, you don't.
But if they want PlayStation to have Game Pass, they're welcome to have it.
That's basically what it all boils down to, you know? I'm telling you. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I do think there's more promise in subscribership for games, though, than there is for Disney Plus, it sounds like.
By the way, did you know Starfield? What the heck was I going to go with this one? Starfield. Oh, the rumor about Starfield was that PlayStation was going to throw money at Bethesda to make it exclusive PlayStation. So Microsoft got a wind of that and decided, well, I'm just going to buy your entire.
I'm just going to buy it.
No, I'm not going to buy the Starfield. I'm going to buy your company.
It's like, you know what? F that. Name your price.
Well, apparently it didn't work for Discord because what they wanted to buy them for $15 billion, but instead they took a 15 million round or something and got 100 million value. They went for something smaller, which is kind of fascinating.
But you know what? At the end of the day, when their earnings came out, Microsoft still had cash.
Yeah.
After all of this. So just something.
Yeah, but you know who we don't want in the stars? We don't want Brie Larson in the stars.
Oh gosh, don't get me started, because there was a rumor that she's in talks to play Mara Jade, which would kill me, honestly. I would rather have someone totally never been in the franchise and with red hair to play like Mara Jade.
Can we pause on that red hair for a second? This is a theme with Hollywood. They hate redheads.
Why?
Red Sonja is the lady who played Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's like so many other examples in the past. Oh, Little Mermaid, redhead. By the way, that's vaporware, isn't it? Like, we haven't heard anything from Little Mermaid.
No. I know they're still shooting it. They have to.
I hope that it's Terry Crews as the dad. I mean, if you're gonna go with the route you went, you better make it Terry Crews, because if it's like a paler king, I'll say it that way. It doesn't make sense. No, it's got to be Terry Crews. I guarantee you, Jean Grey is not going to be a redhead. I guarantee you. That's kind of why I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to see the X-Men in the MCU, because it's. I'm really scared. Sorry, I went on this tangent about redhead, but I'm like,
yeah, you're like, I don't know. It's gonna be either way. You make an interesting point. I hope. Well, it's like, let's put it this way: it's like Fantastic Four. If you like, Susan Storm has always been a blonde. Like,
Even the Fox one, where they made Michael B. Jordan Johnny.
I
She was a
mean,
blonde.
like, she was a blonde. So they made Jessica Alba dye her hair. So like, there has to be some continuity, let's put it that way, in the story. And I don't need to see Brie Larson change her hair color. I don't need Brie Larson as Mara Jade. And to be honest, I'd rather have Mara Jade be someone like I said, totally not from the franchise, not from any, like, you can give me a whole new person and I'll be happy. You could even give me the origins of Mara Jade and cast her young. Like, I'm fine with
I
that.
don't even want Mara Jade because you did Luke so dirty.
Oh God, yeah,
Unless
don't
you
don't-
retcon it, like how do you justify Mara Jade? Again, maybe I'm being sexist, but she was married to Luke and had his kid. So maybe I'm being sexist, but hey, I can't think of Mara Jade and then think that Luke Skywalker is not going to be part of it.
like I said, if you want to talk origins, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, if they're going to retcon and make Legends true, I'm happy for it. But the problem is that actually what they're doing is they're taking Legends, changing it, and saying it's their own, so they don't have to pay the writers.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they're doing it, and that's kind of scummy, but it's business. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But yeah, like Brie Larson's too connected to Captain Marvel. It's too much in Disney, I think. But
yeah,
what's her name? Rose Tegan. What's her name?
Kelly
Tran.
Marie. Yeah.
At least she can hide behind Raya and the Dragon is an animated show, but this Brie Larson's too in my face. But you know she will give us good content.
Oh God, I don't know that it's worth it. The juice worth the squeeze?
Oh gosh.
Even if it was, like, I honestly think if I was Lucasfilm or whatever Disney Lucasfilm, I would try to bring in like someone younger. I hate to say it, Brie, you're old now, so
What is she like?
she's in her 30s, I think. So she's considered old by their standards. Not as, I'm not trying to say like you're old at 30, but for Disney, they casted her when she was like in her late 20s, right? I don't know, or maybe 30.
Well, here's a good question. The fans want what's John Krasinski's wife?
Oh, Emily Blunt, who's like been like
50,
literally denying it.
She's
So
like 50, right?
no, she's like in her like late 30s, I want to say. They just want the two of them together because it would be great to see them.
Because of the movie, the Quiet Place.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
It
all depends. How do they want to play the Fantastic Four? Because it's been done young. It's been done younger. It's been done, like, what else do you have left?
But I like the rumor of it's older, but it's focusing on the kids.
Yeah.
Because the kids are mutants. They're considered mutants for some strange reason.
Yeah. What's his name? Richards.
What's his name? He's an Omega level mutant, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. So
is
yeah.
Is that how we introduced? Oh God. I'm sorry. Like, I'm really, every time they talk about the X-Men, I'm so scared.
That's why I'd rather not see the X-Men, but it's like one of the biggest questions out there that I feel like if ever Kevin Feige is on a stage, he's going to have to answer. It's like, when will we see the X-Men? When will we see the X-Men? I mean, it's on everybody's mind. It's like the elephant in the room. No, if you're in the room.
People. It's the X people, I guarantee you, like the men part. But the thing is, right, again, we go back to our first topic. You guys lost 2.4 billion year on year, and your subscriber growth is going down. You'd think you learned something, but you're not, and it's not stopping. That's what's so weird. It's just not stopping, and it's almost like you gotta kill it. You gotta kill the beast. But
yeah,
I don't know how many people are gonna. like for example, you got the full package of ESPN Plus and Hulu, so they have you, but who knows if they look at the true metrics, right, of usage? Because like Xbox, they know how many hours you've played a game and all that.
Exactly. Or Disney knows, they just want to share it because it scares them.
The metrics don't like telling the investors, for example, is not going to do anything for them. But like Star Wars, they know the minute they put that young Luke out there, and the Twitter exploded in a good way, and there they were in their bubble saying Luke is bad. He's this toxic masculine figure, even though he's like the soapiest, simpy guy sometimes. But he's my guy. But like that's my point. They're so into themselves with this.
Luke's actually like one of the first emo. He's like one of the first like emo heroes ever that I can think of growing up. He wasn't like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator. He was like crying like about like I just never forget Empire Strikes Back. He's freaking crying while he's hanging on the freaking thing when Darth Vader tells him he's his father, and he's just crying like, or like how like
Kiss his sister.
he kissed like he's agonizing over like Leia but on Han, and like I mean, it wasn't until Return of the Jedi that he really came into this full understanding of who he is and what he's meant to be. But like, it's like, you know, like honestly, like to your point, he was like the simpiest character to begin with. Like, I'll just, you know, it wasn't until he really started training with Yoda, but even then he was complaining. Like, Yoda was like whacking him with a stick. Like, you know, like it's like, so when you think about it, he's actually a perfect poster child for a lot of things. And like, you know, this is what we want. We want to waste that, but
Here's another thing too. Like, I can't imagine that this badass assassin Mara Jade even married the guy, and he's my favorite character. Like, even in his full awesome Zen-like form, which was like that makes you cry, like in that Mandalorian episode.
Yeah,
I can't see the guy romancing Mara Jade. I just can't see it. But he does. I mean, granted, there's books.
yeah.
My point is that this guy's and I say it lovingly, he's not the most macho John Rambo or
yeah, he was
Commando.
never meant to be, and like that's why I'm like they're wasting it, because he's like he really is like the everyday hero, like just a guy from Tatooine who just happens to be the son of Darth Vader. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, he's just a guy from Tatooine, you know? Like, so they just wasted that. Like, he could have been the poster child of anyone can be a hero. You
Well,
can
that's the
too.
problem. They made anyone a hero, right? They made Rey.
It's not him. Anyone not him.
No, I mean, if Rey was his daughter, do you understand? We would all forgive it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's how much Luke is loved by the Star Wars community. If that was Rey was his daughter, or at least the hidden daughter of the Solos, I think a lot of people would have been happy to just deal with it. But this, oh god, this was fun. We just went back and forth, but I thought we were only going to be like 30 minutes with that Disney stuff.
It's the tangent.
I gotta love it. So that being said, let's wrap it up and call it a day. So with that said, hope you liked the content. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. We are on Twitter at JustTheSith, so reach out to us as we post our thoughts. And if there's any cool topics you'd like us to touch on, let us know. And also, for those who prefer to listen to us as an audio only, we are on Spotify for download as well. So with that said, see you all on the Sith side.
Bye.